In the quiet valleys of Montana, where the mountains kiss the clouds and winters stretch endlessly, there was a storm that no one would forget. It came without mercy, wind howling like wolves, snow swallowing fences, barns, and even the roads that led to the small farms scattered across the wilderness. When the storm cleared, all that remained was silence, and somewhere in that white silence, a single horse stood trembling, a BASHKIR curly, his coat thick and curly like wool, glistening with ice. He was sick, he was lost, and he was miles from home. Chapter 1. The Curly Colt of the Cold Valley. His name was Northwind, a name given to him by the woman who raised him, Mara Ellison. She had found him years ago, a newborn foal shivering in the frost, abandoned near the river. She carried him home in her arms, wrapped in an old wool blanket, whispering softly, "If you survive the night, you'll never be cold again." Northwind did survive, and he grew into one of the strongest and most beautiful BASHKIR curlies anyone had ever seen, a horse made for the cold, born from it. Every winter, while others shivered, he thrived. His coat turned thick and warm, curls twisting like the wind itself. To Mara, Northwind wasn't just a horse. He was family, her companion through loneliness and storms alike. Chapter 2. The Illness. But this winter was different. Mara noticed it first in his breathing, slow, heavy, almost painful. Then came the fever. He stopped eating, stopped neighing when she called. The vet said it was pneumonia, likely from a sudden change in temperature. He prescribed medicine, but warned gently.
If he doesn't improve in a week, it may be too late.
Mara refused to believe it. Every night she sat by the stable, wrapped in a blanket, whispering stories to him under the lantern light.
"You're strong, Northwind. Stronger than any storm."
But fate had other plans. One night, when the wind was wildest, a tree crashed against the fence, breaking it apart. Startled, weak, and fevered, Northwind panicked. He bolted into the blizzard. By the time Mara ran outside, he was gone, swallowed by the snow. Chapter 3. Lost in the White World. For days the storm raged on. Northwind wandered through the white void, his vision blurred, his breath shallow. The snow burned his lungs and his legs ached with every step. He could barely see more than a few feet ahead. He stumbled through frozen creeks, past pine trees bent under the weight of snow. Every now and then, he stopped to listen, for a voice, a bell, a sign of home. But there was only wind. Still, something deep inside him. Something older than instinct kept him constant, schommelted and instinct kept him moving. He remembered the sound of her voice, he remembered the smell of hay in the stable, he remembered warmth, and that memory became his compass. Chapter 4. The Hunter's Trail. On the third day, two hunters riding snowmobiles spotted tracks in the snow, small, uneven, dragging slightly to one side.
"Looks like a horse," one said, "but no horse survives out here this long." Still, curiosity led them on.
Hours later, they found him, standing beneath a fallen pine, sides heaving, eyes half closed. His coat was covered in frost, his mane stiff as stone. One of the hunters took a step forward. The horse lifted his head weakly, staring at them, not afraid, not angry, just waiting. The men looked at each other, unsure what to do.
"We can't take him in this storm," one said. "Then we'll mark the spot," said the other. They left a red scarf tied to a branch, the only color in a world of white.
Chapter 5. The Dream. That night, as the temperature dropped to 20 below, Northwind lay down in the snow for the first time. He closed his eyes, too tired to fight. And then, he dreamed. He dreamed of Mara's hands brushing his mane. He dreamed of the sound of her laugh echoing in the barn. He dreamed of the river at sunset, where she once whispered to him, "No matter what happens, Northwind, always find your way home." He opened his eyes. The sky was dark, but in the distance, he saw something as simpai. Sain, darin, self-referring da, sign dai, selfai, annari, dari, narin, yurin, darin, banderberry, I thaker darin, danai, I guari. Flickering beyond the trees, home. Chapter 6. The Long Walk Home. It was more a crawl than a walk. Northwind's body shook with fever. Each step sank deep into the snow. The light would disappear behind the hills, then reappear, sometimes closer, sometimes far away. He followed it like a ghost follows memory. At dawn, his legs gave out near the frozen creek that bordered Mara's land. She was outside, shoveling snow from the path, when she saw a shape moving in the distance. At first, she thought it was an illusion, her grief playing tricks. But then she saw the curls, the pattern of his coat, the way he stumbled, but didn't stop.
North Wind, she cried, dropping the shovel. North Wind!
The horse raised his head at the sound of her voice, the same voice he had followed through the storm, and let out a broken, weak neigh. He collapsed a few meters from the gate.
Mara ran to him, tears mixing with snow. She covered him with blankets, whispering through sobs, "You found your way home. You found me."
Chapter 7. The Fight for Life. For 3 days, Mara didn't leave his side. She kept the barn warm with an old heater, rubbing his legs, feeding him warm mash, speaking to him every hour. There were moments she thought he was gone, moments when his breath slowed so much she couldn't tell if he was still with her. But every time she whispered his name, his ear flicked, just slightly. On the morning of the 4th day, the sun broke through the clouds for the first time in weeks, and when it touched his coat, Northwind opened his eyes. Slowly, he tried to rise, his legs trembling, knees buckling, until finally, he stood. Mara laughed and cried all at once.
"That's my boy," she said. "The North Wind always finds his way."
Chapter 8. The Spring Return. When the snow finally melted, the valley turned green again. Northwind had scars on his legs, and his breathing was never the same, but he was alive. Each evening, Mara would walk him to the river, the same one where she found him, as a foal. He would drink slowly, then lift his head to feel the wind that carried the scent of spring. Sometimes, Mara swore she could see something in his eyes, as if he remembered every mile of that frozen journey. The hunger, the pain, the light that guided him home. And in those moments, she would whisper softly, "You kept your promise, Northwind. You always find the way." Epilogue: The Legend of the Curly Horse. Years later, people in the valley still tell the story of the storm that swallowed everything, of the horse that vanished, and of the night a faint light led him home. They say that when the first snow of winter falls, if you walk by the old Ellison barn at dusk, you might see him, a curly-coated horse standing near the fence watching the horizon. Not lost, not afraid, just waiting for the wind to change. Because some hearts, no matter how far they wander, always find their way home. If you enjoyed Northwind's story, subscribe and watch the next video to hear more.